Good Tuesday to you. Long after I've been looking for this interview for a long, long time. Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears is the Lieutenant Governor of my state, Virginia. I will be voting for her when I get back to Virginia. I'm going to do it early. I want everyone out there to do it early. Lieutenant Governor Sears, welcome to the Hugh Hewitt Show. How goes the campaign?
Oh, hello, Hugh, and hello to your listeners. God bless all of you. The campaign is going very well. Let me tell you, there's only one poll that really matters, and it's the one that the voters show up to. And based on what's been happening, we've had a whole week now of early voting, and we're showing that when we look at the data, Republicans are voting at 84 to 90 some of their capacity, and the voting in the red leaning polls. But in the Democrat polls, they are voting at somewhere between 30 to 45, maybe 47, 50. So the enthusiasm is on our side. The momentum is on our side. And that's great because the people understand that this is serious times. And this election is not just for the next 4 years, it's for how Virginia is really going to move forward for quite some time. We have common sense. We're going to keep doing this.
Lieutenant Governor Sears, can we talk about schools first and often? Because where I live up in Northern Virginia, I'm inside the Beltway. The school districts have lost their mind. And I think you have an opening with parents up there because your opponent, Abigail Spanberger, she's just as left as every other crazy Democrat when it comes to schools.
Yeah, the issue is surprisingly very simple. Our girls need privacy when they're undressing in the locker rooms. My policy on common sense: allow the girls to undress without having to do so full front nude in front of a male. This is not hard. And yet my opponent not only voted, of course, for the policy to oppose girls undressing by themselves, but she also voted for the bathrooms, that they wouldn't be safe in their bathrooms. And then, of course, there's no safety in girls' sports when you have biological men in the sport. We've seen what happens. So it's no wonder that you see in some of these other states even that the girls are forfeiting. They're forfeiting the games because they didn't sign up for, to be hurt. So we just can't afford to have her. She's not good for us.
Now, Lieutenant Governor Sears, I always tell people, it's not just the athlete. It's the coach, it's the mom and the dad, it's the siblings, and it's the friends. It's a powerful issue when boys play in girls' sports. Have you found that to be the case as Lieutenant Governor, now as candidate for governor?
Absolutely so. There are 5, I would call them rogue school boards in Virginia, and they're all in Northern Virginia. And they are complying with the tenets of Title IX. Women worked very hard to get the opportunity to have the safe space, right? To have the opportunities for college scholarships. And you learn from being on sports teams how to be with one another, how to work together for the good of all. And yet they're being denied that. And my opponent keeps talking about, her 3 girls that she has. But I bet you she's not subjecting her girls to having to undress in front of men in locker rooms, in bathrooms, and girls' sports. So, yeah, she makes no sense. The people of Virginia
She
voting
can't
for
say that because the left wing of the Democratic Party is nuts. I don't know if you've run into that on the campaign trail. Are they harassing you as they have harassed every other common sense Republican out there?
Oh, absolutely. It's what they do. And, they're being paid to do that. Every time I turn around, there's somebody with some sign, some idiotic thing. And they don't even understand. I don't really care because, I'm from a third world country. I want you to speak your mind, whatever you want to do. Everybody has a First Amendment right. But, my side of the political aisle, we don't do this. We have work. We've got to go to work. So we don't have time to be protesting this, that, and the other. Folks, we've got to win. I need your help to do so. WinsomeSears.com.
WinsomeSears.com. Go and make a contribution. Governor Youngkin was on yesterday. He said the polls have got you in low single digits now. You've been surging for the last 2 months as people have turned their focus and their attention to this. Does the military know, because it's a big military state, especially down in Virginia Beach and all the area of the roads, do they know you're one of them, that you're military?
Oh, yes. Everybody knows that I'm a Marine. And, we love all of our veterans. By the way, we thank them so much for having put their life on the line. And we thank their families for, letting them do that, because you couldn't stop us from not joining the military. And while I'm here, I want to also say, God bless you to our law enforcement. I call them our first rescuers. And so we're just so glad that they run to the violence when we're running away from it. But yeah, people know that I'm a veteran, and they know that they can trust me, because I will defend and continue to deliver for Virginia. What am I going to talk about in delivering? Well, I want to make sure you keep more of your taxes in your pocket. You worked hard for it. Why not? We've returned about $9 billion to the Virginia taxpayers. And my opponent, she's already said she's going to tax you. But of course she is. That's her ideology. And furthermore, I'm going to keep you safe. I know how to do this as a Marine, of course, but just common sense. We cannot defund the police, which, by the way, Hugh, means, as you probably know, I'm sure you know, that the minute that you take the job, that anything happens, your assets could be taken from you, your house, your car, everything would be gone. Would you take such a job? Of course you wouldn't. But and that's why I have 81 sheriffs who've endorsed me and said, you don't win, which I will, but you don't win. They said they're leaving, and of course they will. And by the way, I've had more sheriffs endorse me than our governor, but that's cool. That's wonderful. Historically, it's amazing.
Let me ask you one last question. Democrats are going to shut down the government tonight at 12:01 a.m., so it'll be early Wednesday morning. That's a lot of federal employees live inside the Beltway, and they're throughout the state of Virginia. Commonwealth has a lot. Does that come up? Are they leaving their party because their party has left them behind?
Well, again, here is my opponent, Abigail Spanberger. She's been hitting me, talking about Doge and everything. And, listen, there are politicians who say that they love us, and there are politicians who we need them to show that you love us. And so I'm saying directly to Abigail Spanberger, you've claimed to love federal workers. Tell Senators Kaine and Warner to not vote to shut down our government, because if they do, Abigail, then you know what happens. The federal workers will be out of a job. And remember, you've been hitting me all summer long talking about this. Well, we cannot afford to lose our federal workers, as you know. If you love them, you will tell Abigail, you will tell Kaine and Warner to vote against a shutdown.
Great way to end. And again, Winsome Sears. What's the best website to contribute on, Lieutenant Governor?
Well, winsomeforgovernor.com, Winsome and the four FOR spelled out, winsomeforgovernor.com. Best way. And by the way, I've been getting $5, and I received a check for $3. God bless them, because that's all they had, but they wanted to contribute something. So please go to my website. If you can afford more than $3, please put in more than $3. We're passing the offering bucket, folks.
winsomeforgovernor.com. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Sears. We'll talk to you again as we get closer to vote, and I look forward to casting my vote for you in 2 weeks.
Yes, thank you. Go vote.
Thank you.
Vote for vote.
I will. I love talking to Lieutenant Governor Sears. She's always full of passion, always smiling. I've seen her give so many speeches over the last 4 years. She should win. She'd be great for Virginia. She's certainly going to get my vote, the vote of all my family. Let me tell you now about one of our sponsors, which is the American Exploration and Production Council, axpc.org. And I want to tell you about axpc.org because we need energy in America, and we need to reform permitting in America. Now, the government is going to shut down tonight at midnight because Democrats don't want you to prosper. They don't want you to thrive. They want you to get subsidies and handouts. I don't actually know what they want. They're going to shut down the government, but it is emblematic of everything that happens in the United States when the left gets involved. They just shut stuff down, including oil and natural gas production. Today in the Wall Street Journal, I got the editorial in my hand, why your electric bills keep rising. And the very last paragraph writes, another obstacle to America's stifling system of permitting and environmental review. U.S. infrastructure generally takes longer, costs more to build than in any other industrial economy. Red tape means years of delay, billions in added costs, and a grid that takes longer to respond to new demand compared with other countries. Now, the American Exploration and Production Council is focused primarily on oil and natural gas, but that means all of the above energy. If you're getting more oil and more natural gas out of the ground, America's electricity bills will go down, America's gas bills will go down. Energy dominance means American dominance, means making America great again. So please see the plan. They've got a very detailed plan on streamlining permitting for everything. And it's all available at axpc.org. 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 Government going to shut down tonight at midnight because Democrats are irresponsible. We can change that in November of next year by adding 7 more senators in the United States Senate and by getting the House firmly under control of Republicans, including turning a blue seat red in Minnesota with this man, Tom Weiler, who is running for Senate up there. Commander, welcome back. Good to see you. How goes the campaign in Minnesota?
It's going well, Hugh. This is a state, like you mentioned, it's winnable for Republicans this year, or this cycle, I should say. And I'm running sort of 3 campaigns in parallel right now. One against the Democratic or presumptive Democratic nominees, Angie Craig or Peggy Flanagan. 2 against my fellow GOP contenders. And 3 really to put Minnesota on the national map. So the national Republican entities understand that Minnesota is there for the taking. And I think I'm the right candidate to turn Minnesota red.
Your website is tomweiler.com. That's W-E-I-L-E-R. Tomweiler, tomweiler.com. It's pretty easy to remember. How has fundraising gone thus far?
TomWeiler2026.com.
Oh, really? Because I looked up Tom Weiler and I got it. So it's the old one. Okay, TomWeiler2026.com. Tom Weiler, W-E-I-L-E-R. W-E-I-L-E-R. TomWeiler2026.com. How is fundraising going?
It's been a struggle, honestly, Hugh. I got into this race in the middle of this quarter, so I took some risk on that, but I really wanted to get out there at the Minnesota State Fair and in the late summer time frame in Minnesota. And it was great to engage with a lot of Minnesotans, spoke with a lot of them, and they emphasized that their top 3 issues, once again, are safety and security, economic prosperity, and government accountability. So on that angle, it was definitely a good idea to jump in the race early and join Minnesotans at the State Fair. And I'm really trying to put on a big final push. Today's the last day of the quarter, and we're asking for $25. Tell 10 folks and build a crew of 50,000 strong here.
Okay, so I see that. Hashtag $25 to 10 for 50K. Let me ask you this. What did you follow the Hegseth and Trump speeches to the uniformed military general officers and admirals today?
I just got a snip of that, Hugh, on my way into some other work I'm doing. But it looked like it was more of an all hands call. So I don't think it was, some of the media was making it, I think, into something more than it was. But yeah, it looked like a all hands call from at least what Secretary Hegseth had to say. Unfortunately, I was not able to watch what President Trump had to say.
Yeah, I think it was just an all hands call. And by that, I mean, I think he just wanted to make sure that everyone heard the same message about the ability to fight wars and war fighting standards and how the military's got to get back to lethality as number 1. Any objection that you can imagine that's legit? I've seen some Democratic talking points, but they're nonsense.
No, absolutely not. It's a complex world we're in right now, and there's a lot of change, and rightfully so. I give a lot of credit to both Secretary Hegseth and President Trump for trying to make those changes, i.e. bring peace to the Middle East, bring peace to Ukraine, make sure China is not taking advantage of us. So with all that, those complex situations going on around the world, I think it absolutely makes sense to get your leading generals and admirals and their top senior enlisted advisors in a face-to-face conversation to make sure everyone's on the same page when we have a synchronized message. And stressing war fighting comes first. I mean, that's what the military is here for. And as someone who drove sort of the apex weapon of the United States military, our fast attack submarines, it's good that senior leadership is in sync when we face these complex issues across the world.
Now, going back to Minnesota, Tom Weiler, and again, TomWeiler2026.com. Give him 25, give him 50, give him 1,000. I don't know. What's the limit on a contribution, Tom?
Well, Hugh, I'm sure you can go up to 7,000. So I appreciate everyone who's looking to give me 7,000. But yeah, anywhere from 25 to 7,000, any and all is much appreciated.
All right, TomWeiler2026.com. When you were at the fair, what did people want to talk to you about if they wanted to talk about politics at all?
We had a tragic summer in Minnesota, to be perfectly frank. Melissa Hortman was actually a classmate of mine at the Harvard Kennedy School, and that was a tragic start to the summer. And then we had, of course, a tragic end of the summer or beginning of the school year with the absolute tragedy at Annunciation. So that was on people's minds clearly. And that's why safety and security is number one, I think, in the eyes of Minnesotans. And I actually, one of the bills that I intend to introduce my first day on the Senate is a Protect Our Kids bill, which basically lays out having one armed security guard at every K through 12 school in Minnesota and across the country. And it explains that that is very affordable and an option that protects our kids today, not in 12 months, not after a couple more studies. It protects our kids starting today.
Does anyone object to that? I mean, you might get some very far left progressives who don't like guns, but who objects to protecting kids?
It's weird. No one seems to object to it, but no one takes action. And that leads me sort of to another point. I'm running for the U.S. Senate, specifically here in Minnesota. I feel like we have professional politicians representing our state right now on the national level instead of problem solvers. So to me, this is clearly a problem. I have 2 young kids. I want to try to solve this problem. As an engineer, a submariner, as a DARPA engineer, I've solved a lot of problems in my life, and I hope to bring that problem-solving spirit to the Senate. And to me, this is one of those that, like you said, Hugh, almost everyone agrees on it, so let's take action and get it done. As we're facing this government shutdown, this $1 trillion that we're going to spend to pay interest on our national debt this year, that could pay for one armed security guard at every K through 12 school across the country for 150 years. That's some of the financial context we're talking about here.
Common sense from Minnesota. It's been long overdue. I hope it happens come November 2026. TomWeiler2026.com. Go and contribute today. It's the last day of the quarter for raising money. TomWeiler2026.com. Thank you, Commander. I'll talk to you again soon. Thank you for joining us today. I've also got for you a little bit of the Hegseth speech. Cut number 11. This is Secretary Hegseth, Secretary of War, addressing all of the general officers and admirals in one setting at Quantico, Virginia today. Cut 11.
This administration has done a great deal from day one to remove the social justice, politically correct, and toxic ideological garbage that had infected our department, to rip out the politics. No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses. No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or gender delusions. No more debris. As I've said before, and will say again, we are done with that.
I'm not going to allow him to say that, but I think the general's got the message. I am not done with the relief factor. I'm taking it right now. Got my 6 in this morning, 6.2. Did my 10K, 2 in a row. Got my carrying curcumin, resveratrol, and omega. And I do one thing. I take it on the air every day so that you know that I'm not making it up. I love the product. I take the product. I got a 10 off 6.6, and that's great. I'm a little bit tired, but I'm not sore because Relief Factor gets rid of the minor aches and pains that follow you. If you exercise, you should be exercising. You're definitely going to get some as you get older, and you're definitely getting older. You should be exercising. You're definitely getting older, and you ought to be getting Relief Factor. Call 1-800, the number 4, and the word relief, 1-800-4-RELIEF, or head over to their website, find the starter pack there, $19.95, less than $1 a day for a 3-week supply. At relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Guardians are running out of room here. Bottom of the 9th. They are down 2-1. Skubal struck out 14. Tariq Skubal is out of his mind today. And this is why Senator Cotton and I were talking about this. And he was very glad that the Red Sox did not have to play the Tigers and up against Skubal. That's pretty impressive. But they're not done yet. We'll see what happens in this inning. Let's go down to Quantico. Earlier today, Secretary Hegseth addressed all the general officers in the United States. They all assembled at Quantico. Cut number 6.
Speech today is about people, and it's about culture. The topic today is about the nature of ourselves. Because no plan, no program, no reform, no formation will ultimately succeed unless we have the right people and the right culture at the War Department. If I've learned one core lesson in my 8 months in this job, it's that personnel is policy. Personnel is policy. The best way to take care of troops is to give them good leaders committed to the warfighting culture of the department. Not perfect leaders, good leaders. Competent, qualified, professional, agile, aggressive, innovative, risk-taking, apolitical, faithful to their oath and to the Constitution. Eugene Sledge, in his World War II memoir, wrote, quote, "War is brutish, inglorious, and a terrible waste. Combat leaves an indelible mark on those who are forced to endure it. The only redeeming factors are my comrades' incredible bravery and their devotion to each other." In combat, there are thousands of variables, as I learned in Iraq and Afghanistan, and as so many of you did in so many more places. Leaders can only control about 3 of them. You control how well you're trained, mostly how well you're equipped, and the last variable is how well you lead. After that, you're on your own. Our warfighters are entitled to be led by the best and most capable leaders. That is who we need you all to be. Even then, in combat, even if you do everything right, you may still lose people because the enemy always gets a vote. We have a sacred duty to ensure that our warriors are led by the most capable and qualified combat leaders. This is one thing you and I can control, and we owe it to the force to deliver it.
You're doing a fine job. Cut number 9, more Secretary Hegseth.
On the topic of standards, allow me a few words to talk about toxic leaders. Upholding and demanding high standards is not toxic. Enforcing high standards, not toxic leadership. Leading warfighters toward the goals of high, gender-neutral, and uncompromising standards in order to forge a cohesive, formidable, and lethal Department of War is not toxic. It is our duty, consistent with our constitutional oath. Real toxic leadership is endangering subordinates with low standards. Real toxic leadership is promoting people based on immutable characteristics or quotas instead of based on merit. Real toxic leadership is promoting destructive ideologies that are an anathema to the Constitution and the laws of nature and nature's God, as Thomas Jefferson wrote in the Declaration of Independence.
One more clip, cut number 10.
Where tried and true physical standards were altered, especially since 2015 when combat arms standards were changed to ensure females could qualify, must be returned to their original standard. Other standards have been manipulated to hit racial quotas as well, which is just as unacceptable. This too must end. Merit only. The president talks about it all the time. Merit-based.
Got to tell you, Jose Ramirez just hit a single and got to third on a throwing error. So, Guardians aren't dead yet. Donald Trump also spoke at Quantico today. Cut number 14.
But as leaders, our commitment to every patriot who put on the uniform is to ensure that American military remains the most lethal and dominant on the planet, not merely for a few years, but for the decades and generations to come, for centuries. We must be so strong that no nation will dare challenge us, so powerful that no enemy will dare threaten us, and so capable that no adversary can even think about beating us.
Cut number 15.
We're bringing back a focus on fitness, ability, character, and strength, and that's because the purposes of American military is not to protect anyone's feelings, it's to protect our republic. And it's the republic that we dearly love. It's to protect our country. We
don't need to protect feelings. We need to protect our country. And I hope the Guardians protect the strike zone. Bring Jose home from third base. David Drucker of the Dispatch joins me. David Bad Luck Drucker, we're calling him, because the Guardians just lost the opener in the wild card series 2-1, David. That's on you, friend. That's on you.
I can take it.
All right. Jose Ramirez tried to score from third on a shallow fly ball. Not going to work. David, does the government shut down at midnight tonight?
Most likely.
All right. I'm scoring that as an own goal on the Democrats, and every day that they keep the government shut down, and it's a Democrat shutdown, I'm going to count it as an own goal. Does anyone think the Democrats are actually helping themselves here?
I think I think that if you're a Democratic activist or a liberal activist, let's say, you're probably convinced you're helping the party and the cause because you've so wanted to take the fight to President Trump and the Republicans. And Hugh, look, we how many shutdowns have we lived through? The
Half
offending
dozen.
party, right? The offending party always loses, and it doesn't matter which political party we're talking about. Whenever you decide to hold government funding as leverage for a policy aim, you end up losing because voters think shutdowns are an illegitimate form of political combat. We've seen that with Republicans in Congress. We even saw it with President Trump in 2018, 2019, shutting down the government when he didn't like the deal that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was offering him. Doesn't matter the party, it matters who the voters blame as the instigator. And usually it's pretty easy to figure out who that is.
Yeah, no, in this case, it is the Democrats because 52 Republicans voted in the Senate to pass the House spending resolution, which would keep the government open for 6 weeks, 8 weeks while they figure out the appropriations bills. Chuck Schumer wanted this. So tell me how an activist thinks it's a good idea. Because I try and read the other side, but I have not seen one argument for doing this other than Chuck Schumer does not want to lose the primary to AOC.
Right. So activists, by the way, I don't think Schumer would do this if it were up to him. But, it's John Boehner is fond of saying, and I still see him from time to time, if you're a leader and nobody's following you, you're just out taking a walk. The activists always, number one, they want the fight, they want the catharsis. They believe in their policy position so much that they think everybody else either does, we just don't know it, or they will if we would only make the argument, if we would only risk having the fight, if we wouldn't be so risk averse and we would stand for something, then everybody would see that we're right and they'd agree with us and we'd win this thing. And as I always emphasize, what they don't understand is voters may agree with your greater policy aims. Remember, back in 2013, Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, was very unpopular. And yet when Senate Republicans, it's just the best example. I'm not doing a whataboutism here. I'm just saying Senate Republicans, a collection of them, and House Republicans said, I know you guys don't like Obamacare, so we're not going to fund the government unless the president agrees to halt the implementation of this thing you don't like. And voters said, yeah, we don't like Obamacare, but we think you should do this through the normal legislative process. We don't like shutting down the government as a way to get to this thing we like. And I think a lot of Democrats know this because they were here and on the other side of the argument, but then and many other times. But when your activist base hasn't really touched the hot stove, and when they're looking for some way, any way to do anything because they don't have any levers of power, not really, even though they've got the filibuster, this is the sort of thing we see.
Now, John Thune, the majority leader of the Republicans, is probably the senator who is least like Michael Corleone in the Senate, right? You agree with that? Like that, the least like. Do you remember Michael Corleone and the corrupt Nevada senator who wanted $250,000 and 5% of all the casinos? And Corleone said, here's my offer, nothing. And I just think John Thune's going to say there that the Democrats are going to knock on the door. And he's going to, here's my offer, nothing, nothing, nothing. I don't think this can end any other way, can it?
Well, it never ends any other way. I will say, I haven't followed Thune's every utterance here, but he was on the floor today with Senator Schumer. There was a little cordial back and forth there, civil back and forth, if you will. And Schumer said, listen, give us some more time. It'll give us time to negotiate. Let's do this short-term stopgap, and it'll give us more time to try and work things out. Whether he means it or not, it's a very shrewd piece of political rhetoric there to say, hey, listen, we're just trying to do something short and quick. It'll give us more time to talk. Of course, Schumer was complaining that you didn't want to talk at all. You just threw this at us. And of course, that's what the majority does. The majority has the votes and they get to dictate. The better play is always to take this to the voters and say, this is what we would do if we were in charge. We think you'll like this better. And, Democrats have a decent case to make about various aspects of policy, that things might be better from the voters' perspective if they had some power. But when you try through a shutdown, it just doesn't work.
I always defended Senator Cruz on his shutdown over Obamacare because everybody knew what it was about. And the election was a year off. But right now, the election in New Jersey and Virginia is in 7 weeks. Do you think a shutdown helps or hurts Lieutenant Governor Sears? And in New Jersey, does it help or hurt anybody?
Not sure. Keep in mind, keep in mind for the Democrats thinking about the battle for Congress, this thing is a year off, so they have time to recover. But you're very right to point out that you have a lot of federal workers in Virginia that could be severely impacted by this. And it's unclear exactly who they would blame. Now, Abigail Spanberger has a decent lead. She can run on all of the things that have happened to federal workers so far this year via the Department of Government efficiency process initiated by the president and Elon Musk and their team that cut a lot of federal jobs. But I tend to think that if I were to ask Abigail Spanberger, does she think this is a good idea for her or not? I'm sure she'd rather keep the playing field clear so she could keep the focus on the president rather than having to answer defensive questions about whether her own party was inflicting more pain on her constituents.
That's what Lieutenant Governor Sears opened the program, and she is not happy with the shutdown, but she thinks Spanberger is going to suffer for it. So we're going to be talking about boys and girls sports and shutdowns for the last 6 weeks into the Virginia campaign. Cannot help Abigail Spanberger. David Drucker, always a pleasure to see you from the Dispatch. Listening to a couple of podcasts today, both Dan Senor and commentary. Everyone who loves Israel loves the fact that there's a deal on the table for Hamas where they turn all the captives loose, the remains of the dead, and they begin disarmament, and an Arab force comes in, and Gaza begins to rebuild. President Trump said they have 3 or 4 days to respond, or they're going to end up responding from hell. Cut number 1.
How long do you plan to give Hamas to respond to the ceasefire proposal you've laid out?
Well, we're going to do about 3 or 4 days. We'll see how it is. All of the Arab countries are signed up. The Muslim countries are all signed up. Israel's all signed up. We're just waiting for Hamas. And Hamas is either going to be doing it or not. And if it's not, it's going to be a very sad.
Going to be very bad for them. And then he talked about the shutdown as well on the White House lawn. Cut number 2.
If there is a shutdown, how many federal workers do you plan to lay off?
Well, we may do a lot, and that's only because of the Democrats. And as you know, they want to be able to take care of people that have come into our country illegally, and no system can handle that. And so we're totally opposed on that. But we can't take it. We just can't do it. I'd love to do everybody. I'd love to do the whole world. But our country can't handle people that come into our country illegally. And they want to give them full health care benefits. They want to open the wall again. Can you believe it? I can't even believe it. They want to open the wall. They haven't taken away boys playing in women's sports. They haven't done that. Men playing in women's sports. It's like they don't change. They lost an election in a landslide, and they don't change.
They don't change. They don't change. The markets are up, by the way, today. The market is not worried about a government shutdown. I think Abigail Spanberger is going to lose Virginia because of this. And I don't know about New Jersey, but boy, Democrats shutting down the government does not seem smart to me. The 10-year Treasury closed at 4.153, or almost closed. There's 3 minutes left. That means it's a great time to buy a house. Best time it's been in all of this year. AndrewandTodd.com are great sponsors of our program. AndrewandTodd.com are with Sierra Pacific Mortgage. They are a bank. They lend you the money. They help you from soup to nuts. They take your application. They walk you every step of the way through it. And they will make sure that you do the best deal for you. And if it's not right for you, they're going to tell you, they're going to wave you off. They're going to say, don't do it. But if you do need to get a mortgage, do it with AndrewandTodd.com. 888-888-1172. I have been, they've been clients of mine for 12 years on the program, but I've been borrowing from Andrew for 20 years. When we moved back to the Beltway 10 years ago, Andrew did our loan, and we bought a house in the Beltway. Done the loans for my kids, done the loan for Dwayne, done the loan for a lot of people at Salem. If you're watching on Salem News Channel, if you're listening on the Salem Radio Network, thousands of you have used andrewandtodd.com. If you're a veteran, you don't want to put any money down on your mortgage, andrewandtodd.com. If you're a first-time home buyer, andrewandtodd.com. If you're a senior citizen, you want to get money out of your house with a reverse mortgage, call andrewandtodd.com at 888-888-1172. That's 888-888-1172. Don't buy more house than you can afford. Don't pay more for a mortgage than you have to. Make sure you get good, sound advice no matter what your situation is with Andrew Del Rey or Todd Avakian. Both great gentlemen. Call them today. 888-888-1172. In case you missed the news earlier, the Guardians dropped the first game of the best-of-3 wildcard series today to the Tigers. Tariq Skubal threw 14 Ks. The Guards lost 2-1. Jose Ramirez trying to get home in the ninth, trying to win it on his own, got thrown out. Too bad. Brett Baer, I don't even know if you're going to be able to make it through the special report tonight with that news.
I know you're pulling for him.
There's 2 games left, and we don't have to play against Skubal again. Do you have any? I got a lot of stuff to cover with you, Brett. I am trying to figure out what the president announced about Pfizer today. I can't figure it out. What is Trump RX?
Well, I think it's the beginning of trying to get drug prices down by working with companies like Pfizer and also creating kind of a clearinghouse where people can get drugs that are not generics, the drugs from these companies at very low prices.
You know, a lot of people think Donald Trump is a conservative. This is not a conservative thing. This is not free markets working, is it?
No, it's verging on price controls from from the 70s. And so, I think we're going to have to look how this plays out and what it looks like in its entirety, you know?
Boy, he just doesn't fit into any category. Let me go to the peace deal, though, because he said this on the White House lawn today when he was on his way to talk to the generals and the admirals at Quantico. He was stopped and asked about the deal. President Trump said this, cut number 1.
How long do you plan to give Hamas to respond to the ceasefire proposal you've laid out?
Well, we're going to do about 3 or 4 days. We'll see how it is. All of the Arab countries are signed up. The Muslim countries are all signed up. Israel's all signed up. We're just waiting for Hamas. And Hamas is either going to be doing it or not. And if it's not, it's going to be a very sad end.
It's going to be a very sad end. I think he used the word, they're going to say no from hell. Brett, what do you think about this deal? Because it surprised, I listened to Dan Senor today, I listened to the commentary podcast today. Everyone's kind of amazed that this is actually on the table, and everybody but Hamas has said yes.
Yeah, and I think there's pressure on Hamas to say yes. I mean, the real coup, diplomatically, was to get all of the Gulf nations together at the UN and get into specifics and get everybody singing from the same sheet of music. And that's not easy in that part of the world. And it's a real coup that he did that, but more importantly, that he's convinced the Israelis to at least give it a shot. And I think that he has buy-in, and that might have taken some strong arming.
Now, you were in Qatar not long ago when the president was there, and you interviewed the prime minister. Did you have any idea that they would be on the same side as the Israelis in pressuring Hamas 2 months later? It was about 2 months ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, and nor would I ever assume that would happen in the weeks after Israel struck inside Doha to try to take out Hamas leadership there.
It's extraordinary. It's really extraordinary.
And
Now I want you to try and explain it.
The call in the Oval Office, the apology, that's really quite something for Bibi Netanyahu to pick up the phone and call the Prime Minister in Qatar. That's pretty amazing.
It is, and it is the Trump effect. We go from Pfizer to Hamas to Qatar getting a call from Bibi. Now let's go to the shutdown. I said to David Drucker last hour, if there's anyone less like Michael Corleone, Al Pacino in Godfather Part 2, it's John Thune. But he just said to the Democrats, here's my offer, nothing. And the Democrats are not going to get anything out of the shutdown, Brett. Do you think Am I completely wrong? Are they going to get anything from anyone out of this?
I don't think so. I mean, I really don't think so. I think the leverage, traditionally they have pretty good leverage. They manage to position themselves, and Republicans somehow end up holding the bag. This, despite the Republicans controlling the House and the Senate and the White House, is a clean CR. It is a keeping funding exactly where it is as you negotiate and debate over the appropriations process as it's supposed to go. I'm not sure that's a winning argument.
I think it's an own goal every day that they're shuttered. And I began my program today, by talking to Lieutenant Governor Sears, and she made a very strong pitch to federal employees. Look at what Spanberger is doing to you and her party. Do you think that works in Northern Virginia, Brett Baer?
Might be a tough sell there because they're going to feel the sting of a shutdown, obviously. But I think Democrats could be, pointed with this one because, at least in the short term, it is very clean to do it and then argue over the funding, which is a legitimate argument about the Obamacare subsidies and what healthcare looks like. I think that they're also going up against Russ Vought at OMB, who is essentially sent out the memo. If you get a chance, start firing people once this thing shuts down.
He's like the Yosemite Sam of government, and he doesn't come in aiming. He just starts firing, and it's going to be interesting to see him go. Last question I saved for you, Brett, because you're a Pentagon guy before you took over Special Report. Tell me what you think is on the minds of the 800 generals and admirals who gathered in Quantico today to hear Pete Hegseth, and then the president. President's different, but Pete's a major who's now the Secretary of War, talking to them about no more fat generals. How do you think that goes?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there was more to the speech, obviously, than no more fat generals. There was he's said a lot of this before, the warrior ethos and, making sure the messaging gets correct down the chain. That's something you could have done over a Zoom call. So I talked to a few of them. I don't think it went over great inside the military, but it also wasn't as detrimental or as hair on fire as the media, I think, portrayed it going in. I honestly think it was about an image thing and having the picture and the video of speaking to all those commanders in one place with a big flag behind you. And I think the president said, I want in on that too.
Here is the cut I have played the most and will continue to play. Cut number 11, Secretary Hegseth at Quantico today. Go ahead, Harley.
This administration has done a great deal from day one to remove the social justice, politically correct, and toxic ideological garbage that had infected our department, to rip out the politics. No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses. No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or gender delusions. No more debris. As I've said before, and will say again, we are done with that.
So, Brett Baer, we are done with that beep. I think that's messaging of five-star quality, and it's not to the generals and the admirals. It's down the line. I think it's to the captains and the colonels and then the field officers. What'd you make of that line?
Yeah, I think, that is what he's preaching from the top, has been since he got the job. And, I think it'll have an effect. If you have all of those commanders in one place, they are listening intently. They are not clapping and hooting and hollering. They are sitting there listening. And I thought it was just a remarkable moment. It's, you can criticize it, but as far as messaging goes, that's a way to get your message across to the entire military.
Yeah, I think I interviewed Pete when he wrote The War on Warriors right before Trump won. And there is nothing he said today that he didn't say in his book. So I think it's coming. But if you want to get everyone together, the all-hands meeting is the way to do it. And I'm sure you talked to him when the book came out. He's not making this up as he goes along, is he, Brett? He really believes this. No.
And that's one of the things. I mean, if you're going to say things, put it out there and something you said, and then you walk it back. This is what Pete's been saying for years, and that book is essentially that speech.
Yep. Last question. I gave you 4 different things: the shutdown, the generals, the pharma thing, the peace deal. What do you lead special report with on a day like today?
That's a great question. We are going to. I think we're probably going to do the military stuff. I think we'll see. It's a toss-up. There's a lot of moving parts, and maybe a dual lead, and that's where we come to at about 5:15. We make a decision.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Bury the Guardians. All right. You can cover them tomorrow when they come back. Brett Baer. We'll see you on special report tonight. Don't cover Scuba. Right. Don't cover Detroit. Don't be bad luck. Thank you, Brett. Don't go anywhere, America. I'm coming right back. We got a lot coming up on the program today, including House Majority Whip Tom Emmer on what the House did, which was pass the clean CR. He is joining us next to explain the shutdown is a Democrat shutdown. If it impacts you, you know who to blame. There's actually no issue. There isn't any issue. It's a clean CR. They've done it dozens of times where you just got to get the appropriations process done so you keep the Biden budget in place for 6 more weeks. We'll let Whip Emmer explain that. The House Majority Whip is Tom Emmer. Congressman Tom Emmer represents Minnesota. He's been in Congress for 10 years. Welcome, Congressman Emmer. Tell me something, Mr. Whip. How many shutdowns have you been through in a decade?
I think we've had a couple since I've been here, Hugh. And by the way, it's great to see you. It's been a while, and good to see an old friend still going. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. Well, I'm not going to quit. I had another Minnesotan on earlier today, Tom Weiler, and as long as there's politics, I'll keep doing this. But, Congressman, I really don't understand that. I normally know what a shutdown is about. There's normally an issue that one party gets mad at the other one, and whoever shuts the government down loses, but they lose on a matter of principle. This is a Seinfeld shutdown. It's about nothing.
What a great line. It is about nothing. I mean, if you look at what's happened here in Washington, it's almost like role reversal. We've been here before, but it wasn't the way it's set up with Chuck Schumer and Democrats being the one that want to shut this place down. I mean, look, Republicans in the House, Hugh, were reasonable and responsible. We passed a continuing resolution that gives the government about 7 weeks of funding through November 21st because we've got Republicans and Democrats, as you probably are aware, who have been involved in a conference committee. The first motion to go to conference, I think maybe since 2014, was made the second week of September. They believe they're very close on these appropriations bills. This gives them a little time to finish that up, wrap that up, as we try to move back towards a more regular order appropriations process. It's the reasonable thing to do. All of a sudden, Chuck Schumer wants $1.5 trillion in new spending and is literally making things up out of whole cloth. It's pretty wild. If he's dumb enough to shut this thing down tonight, Hugh, it would be felony dumb. I mean, it's not only going to be the Schumer shutdown, and Democrats are going to have to answer for it, but you got governor's races in states like Virginia and New Jersey who could definitely be impacted.
Felony dumb is the line I'm going to steal from you, because I had Lieutenant Governor Sears on to open the program. She has surged to low single digits on the boys and girls sports issue, and now the Democrats are going to furlough without pay a couple of million Northern Virginians. It might be that many people, if you include the household, not just the direct federal workers. They're not going to get paid. They have to go to work if they're essential, but they're not going to get paid. Could that possibly be good politics?
No, it's terrible politics. I mean, this is all about an old man who's played past his prime, who is scared of losing his job. So he's trying to show people in his base that he can fight. He's not putting the American people first. And I'm going to tell you that your lieutenant governor that you had on, she is in a great position. She's running against a very strong Democrat who literally runs as a Republican. But it's not so much the federal employees. They're going to be huge. But remember, those that just get furloughed and come back to work, they get back pay, Hugh. It's the federal contractors. And you have a bunch of federal contractors in the state of Virginia They're just out the money. This is a huge thing. If Chuck Schumer and Democrats in the Senate, again, are dumb enough to shut the government down over their little political, move, instead of putting the American people first, they're going to answer for it. And Chuck Schumer is, it's going to be his shutdown. And you very well may have a Republican governor in Virginia again.
I have said this to Brett Baer, and I have said it to David Drucker. John Thune is the least like Michael Corleone of anyone I know on the Hill. But the line that Michael Corleone used when he was getting shaken down in Godfather Part 2, here's my offer, nothing. I think that's Thune's line. I think that's Speaker Johnson and your line, isn't it? You and Leader Scalise, just nothing. We're not doing anything.
We already did it, Hugh. I mean, we passed a continuing resolution that is not partisan. This is something that the Democrats in the Senate actually supported just 6 months ago. More importantly, Hugh, this is something that Democrats in the Senate voted for 13 times under the Biden administration. What has changed? Well, Donald Trump is in the White House. Just because you've got an issue with Donald Trump doesn't mean that you should put the American people in the rearview mirror. You got to put the American people first and do your job. There's nothing to negotiate with these guys. They've got all they need. And by the way, their negotiation, what are you going to negotiate? You're going to give them 1.4 million illegal aliens back on taxpayer-funded health care, something that Republicans in the House and the Senate cured in July with the Working Families Tax Cut Act, I think is what we're calling it now. The bill that President Trump signed into law. You're going to give them $500 million that they want for radical news outlets that they want to prop up. You're going to take away $50 billion from rural health care. You're going to give the billions that they want to foreign countries for climate projects. There's nothing to negotiate here. This is a great deal. This is about putting the American people first, and Chuck Schumer better keep that in mind. And by the way, if he wants to go on this fairy tale run that he's still big and powerful in Washington, D.C., hopefully you've got 7 or more Democrats that are in his caucus that are looking at it saying, yeah, I'm not going to let the Pied Piper fool walk me off the end of the pier. I'm going to do what's right for the American people, the people that hired me to do this job.
Well, you've got Jean Sheen, she's quitting, and Tina Smith, she's quitting. But that's only 2, and they need at least 5 more, probably 6, because I think Rand Paul doesn't vote for any CRs at all. And I don't think he's got 6 more. So I'm just curious. You walk the hallways with everyone, Congressman Emmer, and you're the whip. You talk to everybody. Do the Democrats even have talking points? Do they have an argument to make? Because I have not seen an argument yet.
No, their argument is Republicans got to get serious about Americans' health care. And literally, it's a false positive that they're trying to give off. And you know what's great, Hugh, is once again, these arrogant political elites on the left think that Americans aren't smart enough to understand what they're doing. Americans are a lot smarter than they give them credit for. And I just want to add, Tina Smith quit a long time ago. She quit on the state of Minnesota. It's great that she's finally going to vacate the seat so that we can get somebody in there, a Republican, that actually comes to Washington and wants to govern. Because you're seeing exactly what the American people did not want when they gave Donald Trump 77 million votes last November. They are sick and tired of the way these Democrats are doing business on the far left because they aren't governing. They're literally telling Main Street all across this country what they believe is the right thing to do rather than listening to the American people. The Republican Party under Donald J. Trump are listening to the American people, and we're delivering.
You know, quick exit question, Whip Emmer. Weiler's my guy. I know, Tom, I know you probably don't endorse in the primary. But do you think Minnesota can flip? We've elected Republicans there once in a while. Norm Coleman, Rudy Boschwitz, Dave Durenberger. Do you think it's possible to get a senator up there?
I absolutely do. And I believe that the biggest gift we were given is Tim Walz saying he's going to run for a 3rd term. This guy is the most incompetent. He's been exposed on the national stage. He's an embarrassment. His own party doesn't want him to run. And think about this. You've got sitting U.S. Representative Angie Craig, and you've got the lieutenant governor running against each other. It's a perfect opportunity for us with this incompetent failed governor at the top of the ticket to swoop in and win that Senate race.
Hang tough on the hill there, Whip Emmerich. Good to see you again, Tom. Guards got to win tomorrow or they go home. I think they will. Meanwhile, the Republicans have a message machine going on. Let's start with the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, cut number 26.
They are shutting it down. We're not shutting it down. We don't want it to shut down because we have the greatest period of time ever. I told you, we have $17 trillion being invested. So the last person that wants it shut down is us. Now, with that being said, we can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible, that are bad for them and irreversible by them, like cutting vast numbers of people out, cutting things that they like, cutting programs that they like. And you all know Russell Vought. He's become very popular recently because he can trim the budget to a level that you couldn't do any other way. So they're taking a risk by having a shutdown because of the shutdown.
They are shutting it. Democrats are shutting it down. Here is Speaker Johnson on CNBC, cut 28.
You know me, I'm an optimist, but I am a little skeptical this morning. Whether or not the government shuts down at midnight is entirely up to two people. It's Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, primarily Chuck Schumer. I want to tell you that I spent time with them yesterday. Of course, we were in the Oval Office. They are pursuing a very reckless strategy right now, and for the life of me, I cannot understand what they hope to accomplish other than giving themselves temporary political cover from the far left portion of their base, who are demanding that they fight Trump. There is no basis whatsoever for them to oppose this continuing resolution. And I know that you all have been through this.
We have Majority Leader John Thune, again, least like Michael Corleone of anyone in the United States Congress. Leader Thune basically is using the Corleone line when he was getting shaken down by a corrupt senator. Here's my offer, nothing. Here's John Thune, cut 29.
I'm going to tell you, just in the Senate at least, politically speaking, Chuck Schumer needs a Schumer shutdown. And I think that's what we're probably careening toward. But it's up to the Democrats. This bill, this 24 pages is sitting at the desk in the Senate right now. It could be picked up and passed. The government stays open, and we can complete our appropriations work. They have the same leverage on November the 21st that they have right now, and these premium tax credits don't expire till the end of the year. So this is a made-up problem by the Democrats who desperately need to satisfy a political base that is hostile to Donald Trump. That's what this is about. This is Donald Trump, nothing more, nothing less.
But when a message comes together, you've got the president, the speaker, and the leader all saying the same thing. It's a Seinfeld shutdown. It's a shutdown about nothing. Chuck Schumer needs it, and Democrats are going to pay a price. And it's an own goal every day they keep the government shut down. Let me tell you about Webroot. Remember the address. They're a sponsor, webroot.com/Hewitt, and I'm glad they are because the amount of cybercrime is rising, and if you have devices, if you've got a cell phone, an iPad, if you've got any kind of computer, you need Webroot Total Protection or Webroot Essentials. You go to webroot.com/Hewitt, and you live a better digital life with Webroot. You get real-time antivirus protection against emerging threats like malware and ransomware. I've been there and I've done that. I don't want to ever do ransomware again. That hit us probably 10 years ago. And we took our steps. We have Firewall and Network Monitor. You have Web Threat Shield that detects and blocks malicious websites before you visit them. Advanced dark web monitoring to see what about you is already out there. Credit and financial monitoring with rapid alerts. You get a VPN for 5 or 10 devices. Select your connection from 80 locations in more than 55 countries. Hide your IP address, your personal data, your location from hackers. And remember, protection for 1, 3, or 5 devices with Webroot Essentials, the Firewall and the Network Monitor, and the System Optimizer. Make your choice, but you get half off right now, 50% off Webroot Total Protection or Webroot Essentials when you visit webroot.com/Hewitt. Also want to remind you, I'm in the Relief Factor studio. I keep it close at hand. I need to send it to the Guardians Clubhouse. I think we got to send it to Jose. He ran as hard as he could. Shallow fly ball by Manzardo wasn't far enough. And they got Jose at the plate. But I'd rather lose in the 9th inning that way than lose on a swing and strike against their Screwball was out of the game by that point. But I digress. Relief Factor for everyone who's got minor aches and pains from sliding head first and your helmet coming off. And for you who walked a couple of extra miles today. Relief Factor works for everything that's a minor ache and pain. It's not going Not going to knit a broken arm, all right? That's not what Relief Factor does. It's Icarian, curcumin, resveratrol, omega, 4 natural supplements that work together with your body's anti-inflammatory system to get rid of minor aches and pains. So I did my 6.2, my 10K this morning. I did my 10K yesterday. I did 10 miles on Saturday. I took Sunday off, of course. That's what you do. And I'll take tomorrow off, and I'll get back out there on Thursday. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. That's my schedule, and Relief Factor makes it possible for me to get my 20 to 30 miles every single week, and I recommend you try it. Call 1-800, the number 4 and the word relief, 1-800-4RELIEF, or visit their website. Find the starter pack for $19.95 at relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Donald Trump went down to Quantico today, followed Pete Hegseth, talked to all of the general officers. Now, the general officers of the United States military, generals and admirals, are serious men and women. They got their jobs because they have served the country in excess of usually 25 years. They know what they're doing. They're there to get a message. They got the message from the commander-in-chief today. He began with a joke, cut number 12.
Thank you very much, Pete. Great job you're doing, too. Fantastic job. I've never walked into a room so silent before. This is very... Oh, don't laugh. Don't laugh. You're not allowed to do that. You know what? Just have a good time. And if you want to applaud, you applaud. And if you want to do anything you want, you can do anything you want. And if you don't like what I'm saying, you can leave the room. Of course, there goes your rank. There goes your future.
All right, so
just feel...
it's a State of the Union rules. When the Joint Chiefs arrive in the first row of the State of the Union, they give no sign of emotion. They are non-political. The military is non-political. And so they're not going to give him much of a reaction. Cut number 13, no, the president continues.
In this effort, we're a team, and so my message to you is very simple. I am with you, I support you, and as president, I have your backs 100%. You'll never see me even waver a little bit. It's the way it is. And that includes our great police officers and firemen and all of these people that are doing so well. Together over the next few years, we're going to make our military stronger, tougher, faster, fiercer, and more powerful than it has ever been before.
Cut number 16.
But together with many of you in the room, we've brought back the fundamental principle that defending the homeland is the military's first and most important priority. That's what it is. Only in recent decades did politicians somehow come to believe that our job is to police the far reaches of Kenya and Somalia, while America is under invasion from within. We're under invasion from within.
Cut number 17.
Together with the leaders here today, we're also restoring a needed focus on defeating threats in the Western Hemisphere. Throughout this region, cartel terrorists have been allowed to wage a relentless campaign of death and destruction on our country, all because we had weak leadership on top. And we did a great job with it first term, but this is something else what we're doing now. We're taking it to the next level, probably next level times 3. But we had COVID come up, and we had to take care of that. We did a great job with COVID. We had the therapeutics, it's just Regeneron, so many things we did for COVID. But we had to focus on that, and every other country in the world was being decimated by COVID. So we had to change gear a little bit to take care of that. But under our leadership, the military is now the knife's edge in combating this sinister enemy.
He said also about ruthlessness, cut number 18.
In the coming months, we'll be making even more historic announcements to fully embrace the identity of the Department of War. I love the name. I think it's so great. I think it stops wars. The Department of War is going to stop wars. If we are as ruthless and relentless as our enemies, the United States Armed Forces will be totally unmatched in the future.
And then finally, cut number 19.
From Sparta to Rome, to the British Empire, to the United States of America, history has shown that military supremacy has never been simply a matter of money or manpower. At the end of the day, it is the culture, spirit of our military that truly sets us apart from any other nation. Our ultimate strength will always come from the fierce people and those brilliant people with such pride and the unbending will and the traditions of excellence that have made us the most unstoppable force ever to walk the face of the earth. And that's what we are.
Before the president spoke, before Secretary Hegseth spoke, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Dan Raisin Kane, spoke first, cut number 4.
Generals, admirals, senior leaders, good morning. Wow, what a group here today. I will tell you that our enemies are terrified right now that we are all in the same room, and that is a true statement. Welcome, everyone, to Marine Corps Base Quantico and the first ever Key Leaders All Call. To the Commandant and all of the Marines that have made this event possible, thank you. This was no small feat to put this event together in short order, and I'm glad there's pull-up bars just outside. The SEALs in the corner out there are very happy about that. I regret to inform you there will not be a PT test after this event because I know you all would crush it. Last night, I had the privilege of joining the Secretary and the Joint Chiefs in honoring 50 Gold Star families at the White House as the President, the First Lady, and our nation honored their loved ones' service and sacrifices. Teammates, it was a quiet and deeply meaningful event that reminded all of us that were lucky enough to be there of the serious and unforgiving nature of the business that we are in, fighting and winning our nation's wars. Leaders, we are living in dynamic and potentially dangerous times. Global risk is on the rise. Our adversaries are no longer aligning, they are aligned. And we must align with equal resolve and unity. Even as we strive for and seek peace, we must be prepared for war. Now, more than ever, it is vital that we hear from our civilian leaders, understand where they're taking the department and the joint force, and today we have the unprecedented opportunity and honor to hear directly from the Secretary of War and our Commander-in-Chief. Together, you and I and our civilian leaders have the honor of leading the finest military in the world, and we must seize every opportunity every day to prepare our joint force for the future. I am deeply humbled to serve with each and every one of you.
Very good statement by the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, by the President, by the Secretary of War. All of it today, an all call to get the messaging down about the military, and they're done with all the nonsense of the last 4 years. They're facing forward, and they're becoming more and more lethal. It's going to be up to Tanner Bybee tomorrow to keep the Guardians going. They lost today to the Detroit Tigers, to Skubal, and I'm not surprised. 2-1. When they tied it up 1-1 in the 6th, I let out a hoot right before I went on the air. And then it's the bottom of the 9th, and Jose Ramirez is at third base. Nobody out. Skubal is out of the game. I'm thinking, okay, we can tie this. And Valera struck out. That's okay. He's a kid. And Manzardo got some wood on the ball, but it's a short fly ball, not a deep fly ball. And Jose did the Jose thing. The way to lose is to have Jose trying to win. That's fine by me. They'll get it tomorrow. So let me win one way for you. Let me save you some money by talking to you about one of our sponsors, Consumer Cellular. Now, if you watch sports on the weekend, if you watch the game today, you'll see cellular ads left and right. And you don't know what to believe. Believe me. Go to consumercellular.com/Hugh. Consumercellular.com/Hugh. If you look through your cell bill lately, you'll find out how much data you are actually using. But how much are you buying? Have you looked at the hidden fees and the surcharges? Have you noticed that your bill has gone up lately? After you check your bill, check out Consumer Cellular, where you really can get savings without sacrifice. It only takes about 20 minutes to switch your cell phone provider. And you'll get $25 off if you use my code HUGH25. Call 1-800-411-4454. 1-800-411-4454. or log on to consumercellular.com/Hugh. And new customers get that $5 credit on first 5 monthly invoices. Remember, they're aimed at consumers over the age of 50 because you use less data than other people use. Give yourself a shot, all right? At least compare and contrast. You don't need what you're being sold by big cellular. Consumer Cellular will take care of you. You can have the exact same cell coverage, and you can save a lot of money with consumercellular.com/Hugh. The number again, 800-411-4454, 800-411-4454. I want to go back to the cuts now. In the presser with Pfizer today, Donald Trump said this, cut number 20.
Today, I'm thrilled to announce that one of the world's largest pharmaceutical manufacturers and one of the best anywhere in the world, Pfizer, has agreed to offer countless prescription medications at major discounts in the United States as a result of the most favored nation drug pricing order that we established earlier this year. As you know, the United States is paying sometimes 10 times more than other countries for drugs, and a lot of excuses were made for that, but it went on for many years, many years, decades, and it's not going on any longer. We're going to be paying the lowest price now. We're going to be paying whatever the lowest price is, favored nations. This will save American taxpayers and consumers hundreds of millions of dollars.
I have no idea what's going on there, but I do know that the government is shutting down at midnight tonight because of the Democrats. I'm going to talk with United States Senator John Hewitt of Ohio right after the break. Don't go anywhere. We'll commiserate a bit about the Guardians. We'll cheer on the Reds, and then we'll get to business talking about why do the Democrats want to put everyone out of work and shut down all of Virginia when they got a Virginia governor's race underway. I don't know. Senator John Hewitt is from the great state of Ohio, where I hail from, but I'm a little unsure if he's grieving over the Guardians' loss to the Tigers because he's from the far northwest corner of the state. He's a Dayton Flyer, so he went down near the Reds. So he might not care about the Guardians, but he might be one of those Tiger fans who are up there in the northwest corner. What about that, Senator?
Hey, I'm rooting for an Indians-Reds World Series. What are you talking about? That's the dream come true. Although when I was in my formative years, the Tigers were really good winning some World Series. So we got a lot of Tigers stuff up there.
Screwball was really good today. He K'd 14 the Guardians, so it was really wild. Senator, you've served at every level of government, statewide as lieutenant governor, state senate, state house. Now you're a United States Senator. Have you ever seen a government shutdown before?
Well, from afar, I've never been in one because at the state level, we just responsibly performed our duties according to the Constitution. And when we couldn't get the negotiations done in time, we would pass an extension or a continuing resolution at the state level to keep government services going until we got our business done. That's exactly what we're asking the Democrats to do right now. 13 times when Chuck Schumer and the Democrats voted to keep the government open with a continuing resolution during the Biden years, right? So they've done all that. And now that Donald Trump is president, they don't want to do that anymore, which makes no sense in the world. If they want to negotiate something, we'll negotiate, but keep the government open, keep services, law enforcement, the things that people rely on going while we continue to have discussions about anything they want to talk about.
I've called this the Seinfeld shutdown because it's about nothing. And I don't think the Democrats even have talking points yet. They've changed a lot over the last 3 days. It apparently is they just want $1 trillion to spend on people. What is their ask? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's a little unclear, but you're making the point. It's like, seriously, what do you want to talk about? Well, we can keep talking about that, but don't shut the government down to keep talking about it. Because think about this. It's like we're asking for 7 more weeks to continue the appropriations process to fund government. That's the way it's supposed to work. And they're saying they keep throwing things at the wall and saying, we want this, we want that. It's like, fine, we can negotiate that, see if you can get the votes, but you don't have to shut the government down to keep talking. Like, we'll keep talking to you, just don't shut the government down. And they have no plan. What I worry about, though, on behalf of the American people is that they're going to come to this deadline tonight. That John Fetterman, we have one Democrat who's going to vote. I think other Democrats would like to vote with us. But if they get there and then they shut it down, then they're going to look silly. And then they're going to, if they keep this going, because what are they going to get out of it? Like they're not even sure what they're asking for. And so I'm worried that this could prolong if they go over the cliff tonight and shut it down.
Well, I think it's the least likely. I've said this many times on the program today. Senator Thune is the least like Michael Corleone of any senator in the United States Senate. No offense, Senator, but John Thune's the nicest guy I've ever met in the United States Senate. So he would never say, here's my offer, nothing. But that is, in fact, what the president said and the leader said and the speaker said. There's nothing to negotiate about the extension. Is there? This is a take it or leave it deal. If they want to shut it down, it's going to stay shut down.
There's nothing to negotiate. This is a continuing resolution that funds government at the same levels that they've already voted to do in the past. We're not asking them to take a vote that they haven't taken before. This is just keep the government open. We'll keep talking about anything you want. There's nothing to negotiate. There's nothing to give them. They don't know what they want. The only things that they want are things that they could never have. Like they want Donald Trump to go away and all of us to quit existing. Like that's what
or
they
switch
really
parties.
Want.
I remember when Senator Cruz orchestrated the shutdown over Obamacare, everyone knew it was over Obamacare. When Newt Gingrich did it in '94, everyone knew he wanted to shrink the size of government. No one's ever seen this before. It's an own goal for the soccer fans out there, and every day they keep it shut down, there's an own goal. Do you know, Senator Houston, is there a vote scheduled for today? Or is this an inevitability in 7 hours it shut down?
No, we're gonna vote tonight. We're gonna give them a chance to not shut the government down. Like everyone's gonna go on record tonight and say, hey, this is what we're gonna do. We're all gonna vote. I'm gonna vote to keep the government open and continue to go through the normal appropriations process and fund the government in a hopefully smarter, more efficient way. But tonight's really just about whether we're gonna pay our air traffic controllers, our federal law enforcement officials, the men and women of the military. We're gonna keep basic services available. The negotiations.
No, they have to go to work, right? They have to go to work if they're an essential employee.
Yeah.
They just don't get
essential
paid.
employees have to go to work. There are a lot of people that won't have to go to work, but you may have a permit pending at some EPA office, right? That's a big deal to you as a business person because you need your permit because time is money. That gets closed down. You don't get that done. I mean, there are people all over the country who will suffer at some level as a result of a government shutdown. We also know it costs money to shut the government down and then reopen it. And it's not fair to the people who are providing services. If you have a real reason to do it and it's on principle, that's great. Their real reason is that Donald Trump's president, we hate them, we're getting too much pressure from the left wing of our party, and so we have to pretend like we're actually fighting for something.
Now, you've only been there a year. Have you ever had a chance to have like dinner with Chuck Schumer? I thought he was a smart guy. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen anyone do. He's walked into a box canyon. And I don't know how he gets out now.
I've not had dinner with Chuck Schumer. I'm a friendly guy, but he hasn't invited me to dinner yet. But and here's the deal: this is about nothing. You're right. It is a Seinfeld shutdown. We call it the Schumer shutdown, the shutdown over nothing, right? And you're absolutely right, Hugh. There's no way out for him. Like he got beaten up. He's scared of AOC running against him in a primary in 2 years. He got beat up by the left-wing groups for doing something that by the way, if you can run the clips of how many times Chuck Schumer has given a floor speech about the stupidity of shutting down government. Like he says it all the time. And then now he's walked himself into this corner. We're at the 11th hour. I'm hopeful 6 or 7 of his colleagues will bail him out by basically saying, hey, I'm not running for re-election again. I'm voting for this. Hey, I represent Virginia or Maryland. Too many people in my communities are disrupted. I'm voting for this. Maybe 6 or 7 Democrats will go along and do that. But right now, he has backed himself into a corner of which there is no way out for him.
Lieutenant Governor Sears, who's my lieutenant governor because I live in Virginia, I vote in Virginia, she began the show today and she said, look, This is great for my campaign. It's bad for the federal employees who live in Virginia because Spanberger is a Democrat and the Democrats are shutting it down. Has anyone like Tim Kaine or Mark Warner made a speech about common sense and not doing this? This really is dumb. There's nothing on the table here. Nothing.
It is for their constituents, particularly if you're a Maryland or a Virginia senator, because you have so many of your citizens who are going to, be inconvenienced, at least have some level of suffering at the most. But it's going to affect people all around the country by services not being rendered or people going without pay. The worrisome thing is that, so let's say that they shut it down and they don't vote with us, and then we come back on Friday after being out for the Jewish holiday, and we say, okay, well, what are you going to do now? There's nothing to give them. Like, there's nothing that they're asking for that you could give to them that lets them save face. So I just worry that they might extend this, and create a level of suffering and inconvenience that's completely unnecessary. And by the way, Hugh,
well, I'm
when they
glad
say
you
won't negotiate with us, we'll
for
negotiate.
30 years, I was a government
about.
permitting lawyer. I used to go to the agencies and beg for permits when I was practicing law.
Yes.
And you're right. When the agencies are shut, you can't get anything done. And it is a ridiculous, there's nothing at stake. There's no principled issue here. It's AOC. So welcome to Washington, Senator Houston. I'm sure this is what you signed up for, is to watch the Democrats self-immolate in a gesture of absurdity, the likes of which I haven't seen in 35 years of broadcasting. But you get to be there for this.
Yeah, I'm getting to watch what not to do.
John Houston, good to talk to you, Senator. I look forward to that Guards Reds series. That is the dream. I'm not sure what side you'd be on because you're a Dayton Flyer, but we'll find out if it comes down to that. Thank you, Senator Houston. Don't go anywhere, America. I'm coming right back with Bethany Mandel. She is a Maryland resident, and she is the author of the Mom Wars Substack, themomwars.substack.com. And Maryland really gets screwed by these things. Virginia really gets screwed by these things simply because they don't get paid. Millions of people don't get paid. Federal contractors don't get paid. It's not like everybody's got plenty of saving, all right? This is a Chuck Schumer nightmare because he's afraid of AOC. Hard to believe. Bethany Mandel is the founder of the momwars.substack.com, and she joins me on the eve of Yom Kippur. Bethany, when do you begin to observe Yom Kippur?
So that's the night before. So it's a 25-hour fast. So it starts the night before. And so that's Wednesday night this week.
Oh, so tomorrow night. I'm glad I'm talking to you today then. The 25-hour fast, does that apply to toddlers or do they get a break?
They get a break. So you don't have to start fasting until you are bar or bat mitzvah age. So it's 12 for girls and 13 for boys.
So do they hang around and eat in front of the parents to be obnoxious?
Yeah. It's torture.
Yeah, of course they do.
And then you
Yeah,
get to
of
like
course they
make things for them. I've had kids like shoving food in my mouth on a fast day before. That's always really fun too. It's great. It's a great time.
That's great. Bethany, I want to talk about two things with you. The peace accord, but first, the federal government shuts down tonight at 12:01. The two states
Really?
that get hammered the worst are Virginia and Maryland. Do you have any neighbors who are impacted by this at all?
So that was news to me. I heard that something might happen, but I have not been following it because I don't ever really notice when there's a shutdown. I live in a neighborhood that is mostly federal employees, and I actually find it really interesting because I think I have observed property values going down. I have a neighbor who sold his house for $740,000. I think a year ago he could have sold it for over 800. So I think the property values in this area are starting to dip because of
Well, I do
Doge.
think some of your neighbors are going to lose their job if Chuck Schumer
Yes.
goes forward with the Schumer shutdown, because Russ
agree.
Vought over at OMB, he's got the knives out and he's sharpening them. I have called this the Seinfeld shutdown because it's a shutdown over nothing. Do you have any idea what the Democrats are asking for?
No idea. If I were to listen to Republicans' messaging, there was something related to like health cares for illegal immigrants. I don't know how true that is. To be honest, I have not paid attention. I only have so much bandwidth in my life, and this is just not on my radar. I don't know. I think I'm like on the far end of normies, and so if I'm not paying attention, I guarantee most of America is not either.
The people who are paying attention are those who are not going to get paid and those who are going to lose their jobs and those who need a federal permit from a federal permitting office that they're not going to be able to get. And that is going to be, but we're not going to do the Obama stuff and close Mount Rushmore and close the Washington Monument. I'm pretty sure we're not going to do that. Bethany, let me ask you about the Middle East peace deal. Were you surprised by the Netanyahu-Trump presser yesterday?
I wasn't surprised. I think that it was a really interesting chess move on the part of the Israelis because they've basically positioned Hamas into a corner and they've gotten Turkey and Qatar and Egypt to sign on to this. And so if Hamas says no, which I think they probably will, they will have made enemies of all three of those benefactors. And one of the most diabolically brilliant parts of this agreement was that the Israelis promised not to strike Qatar again if this deal goes through. And so if this deal does not go through because of Hamas, and then Israel strikes again, everyone can point their fingers at Hamas and say, well, if you had taken the deal, we wouldn't have hit your people in Doha again.
And the deal's first step, and I want everyone to understand that in the audience who is listening or watching, all of the hostages are released immediately, right? There's no twosies and threesies or fives and 10. All of the 20 living and the 30 deceased will be turned over on day one. That's my understanding. Is that your understanding?
That is correct. And that's an important point because I was reading the Washington Post reporting of this story, and I think I got down to paragraph 9 where they recognize that there are hostages being held. A shocking few number of Americans. I think they're not listeners of your show because you actually talk about this, but unfortunately you're one of the few people who talks about the fact that there are hostages being held in Gaza for almost 2 years.
So I'm asking you to predict here, and we have no way of understanding what a terrorist thinks or how they think. Do you think they'll take this deal and leave because they get nothing out of this deal except their lives, and we don't know for how long? Do you think they'll take it, or are they going to go down fighting?
If I were to make a prediction, I would not put my money on them taking the deal. I think that the only hope for that, and I do have hope, I do hope they take this deal. I do hope that this is over and that the hostages come home and that this war can end. The only hope is the fact that Bibi and Trump have positioned it so that if Hamas says no, they're also saying no to the Qataris, the Egyptians, and the Turks.
And I want to underscore something that I don't think our audience understands or may not know. Under the terms of the deal, to which every Arab nation in the Gulf, Egypt and Turkey and Qatar have agreed, the Israelis keep the Philadelphia corridor, and I think they keep the Netzarim corridor. I'm not sure. Do you know?
I know that they keep Philadelphia. I'm not sure that they are able to, I'm not sure of the exact who controls what and how far away, but that issue was taken care of. That I know. I just don't know the exact details of who controls it, how close they are. That I don't remember the details of.
Do you have any idea why the Turks agree? I mean, Qatar and Turkey are the big Hamas supporters and they're the most radical. The Sunni Arabs in the Gulf want this thing to be over so they can get back to business and maybe get Gaza rebuilt. But why did Turkey and Qatar agree to this?
I mean, who knows what happened behind the scenes? I think that the strike that happened in Doha, even though it was unsuccessful in killing their intended targets, it was a success in that it scared the Qataris that, wow, the Israelis have so many cojones that they'll come and they'll strike in Qatari territory. And I think they thought that that was not on the table. And now they realize that there is nothing off the table. And so I think that it was very successful in that way to put some fear into them. The Turks, I don't know. Maybe it's the same fear. Maybe they're afraid that Israel will strike inside their territory also.
Well, after the 2 years since 10/7, the capabilities of the IDF are so extraordinary, and of Shin Bet and of Mossad. Everybody's got to worry about the knock on the door, don't they, in that part of the world?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's the message that Israel has sent over the course of the last 2 years. They took out Nasrallah, they went into Tehran, they went to Doha. Where have they not gone at this point? And what's probably terrifying for the people in this region is that they did so in ways that blew everyone's mind. The intelligence was terrible in Gaza, but it was very good everywhere else in the Middle East, and they're sort of wondering and looking over their shoulders like, is my housekeeper a member of Mossad? I don't know who to trust anymore, because they hit so precisely in so many different places that I think the paranoia is justified.
So it's going to be an extraordinary Yom Kippur. How do you spend? We got 1 minute, Bethany. For the people who don't know anything about Yom Kippur, what's it about?
So we turn off all of our phones and TVs and all of those things, just like we do on Shabbat and on major holidays. And we spend it not eating and not drinking any water, and praying and bringing our kids to the synagogue, where they will have childcare there for a few beautiful hours. But that's basically it. This is actually my first year that my youngest kid is old enough for childcare, so I might actually go to synagogue for the first time in like 13 years.
Well, good for you. Blessed Yom Kippur. I don't know what the appropriate wish is, but a blessed one to you, Bethany, and to your entire family. I'll talk to you on the other side, and hopefully peace is on the other side as well. Thank you for joining me today. There's so much news today, and I've covered it all, but I do want to go to the last thing that happened today, because we got the audio in. President Trump met in the Oval with Pfizer executive Secretary Kennedy from HHS and others. Let's begin with cut 21.
For many years, Americans have paid the highest prices anywhere in the world for prescription drugs. They paid far more, 10 times, 13 times, 15 times more than other countries for the exact same product. A major reason is that the American consumers have been subsidizing research and development costs for the entire planet. They put all of that on us, and yet they were the beneficiaries too. So it's being changed as of today. The United States had just 4% of the world's population and consumers, only 13% of all prescription drugs, yet pharmaceutical companies make 75% of their profits from the United States. So think of that. We have 4% of the market, 13% of prescription drugs, and yet, Albert, I didn't know you were that violent. I'm surprised you're here to do this.
I'm getting better.
No, he's doing the right thing. Thank you. And yet they make 75% of their profits from the American customers, so it's something. That's why I signed an executive order combating this practice, and we signed it very happily.
Cut number 22, he continues to talk about Pfizer.
Furthermore, Pfizer will invest $70 billion to reshore domestic manufacturing facilities. In other words, they're going to bring a lot of their facilities to make their drugs and make what they make, their product. They're going to make it in the United States. I appreciate that $70 billion investment and fund research and development right here in America. We're working with other major pharmaceutical companies to secure similar agreements. Everyone understands that the status quo where Americans pay more for drugs, prescription drugs, and they pay more than foreign countries who take advantage of us in many other ways, although not so many anymore. I think we've pretty well got that stopped, right? I think so. We've stopped that, but they took advantage of a lot of other presidents, that I can tell you.
No, there's a funny moment. RFK sneezes. Listen to this, cut 23.
Furthermore, they couldn't test. God bless you, Bobby. I hope I didn't catch COVID just there. Don't you have Paxlovid? What is it? He's got Paxlovid. Give me a Paxlovid immediately.
Remember, he got COVID right before the debate with Joe Biden, and then they canceled the debate. The whole 2020, what a nightmare that was. And then he ended by talking about the Democrat Seinfeld shutdown, the Schumer shutdown, about nothing. What are they asking for? Cut 24.
We could come up and through this whole thing, because, I don't know, we'll probably have a shutdown, because one of the things they want to do is they want to give incredible Medicare, the Cadillac Medicare, to illegal immigrants. And what that does is it keeps them coming into our country, and like they do in California. And no country can afford that. No country. and we have the border stopped up. We have it closed. We have nobody for 4 months. Zero people came in. That wasn't me. That's by the authorities who happen to be liberally oriented. But just think of that. We have people offering health care to people all over the world that they can't afford to pay, and that's the Democrats. And what that does is it brings people into the country because they want to come in for the health care. But no country can afford it, and they can't afford it. So we cannot allow them to charge tremendous amounts of money for health care for people that aren't even citizens. And in many cases, they come in from prisons, jails, and mental institutions, and we can't let that happen. So
one more cut 25.
Nothing is inevitable, but I would say it's probably likely because they want to give health care to illegal immigrants, which will destroy health care for everybody else in our country. And I didn't see them bend even a little bit when I said we can't do that.
So they had a big meeting in the Oval Office yesterday. Chuck Schumer wanted to have a meeting, and he made his demands, and they asked for Medicare or Medicaid for illegal aliens. And the president said no. And that's not in the current budget. The continuing resolution, just so to be very, very clear, the Democrats did this 13 times in the 4 years of Joe Biden. When the appropriation process wasn't done, 13 times they kept funding at the same level and they kept the government open. This time they're choosing to shut it down tonight, though there will be a vote tonight. John Thune has arranged for a vote tonight. And if the Democrats want to shut down the government, it's an own goal. And every day it's closed, it will be an own goal on the Democrats. And I don't understand it. I've never seen anything this dumb, and I've been doing this for 35 years. Never even close. This is the dumbest thing I've seen a Democrat ever do. I've seen an inept thing. President Biden had lost capacity, but that was infirmity on display. This is a choice made after deliberation in a caucus to shut down the government over nothing. It's incredible. Lilacs is in the house, as in James Lilacs, as in jameslilacs.substack.com, humorist extraordinaire. James, I got to ask you something. When you were a reporter in Washington, D.C., was it 2 years that you were in D.C. before you went back to the Trib?
3.5, 4 or so. And then I went back to the Pioneer Press, actually.
Oh, okay.
Because they'd take me.
3.5 years. In those years, when I lived there in the 80s and you worked there in the 80s, there was the Post and there was the Star. Now there is Semaphore and Axios and Punchbowl and Politico and a dozen other newsletters. I don't read them because they're gossip sheets. Today I read them because of the shutdown, and I'd like your comment on this. This comes from Axios reporter Stephen Newcomb. News. Senate Democrats encouraged each other to dig in and stick it to Trump on government funding in a caucus meeting this afternoon, Axios has learned. Sources described it as a motivational session. Democratic resolve is only growing. Some Senate Democrats remain on the fence, I'm told, but almost certainly not enough to break a filibuster. More on Schumer's caucus rallying around each other at Axios. That's like rallying around each other in a box canyon. What do you make of this?
It is the dangdest thing. If they wanted to get out there and say, look, we are very concerned about Medicare and Medicaid and what the Trump beautiful bill, the big beautiful bill has done to people. People are going to die. They're going to be coming around with carts in your neighborhood and pitchforking them on and then taking them to mass graves because of Trump. That would be one thing. But to say, here is this program, which supposedly we've been warning you about is not enough. We would like to give it to a whole bunch of people who are not citizens of this country. And most of the people in the country say, okay, are you talking about that hill over there? Because I don't like that hill. I hate that hill. And the Democrats say, yes, that hill, and it's the one we're going to go die on. That is the hill on which we wish to die. It could possibly be that they are trying to strike some sort of moral blow because they think that the country has turned against immigrants and they've got to do them a favor. And that everybody is so appalled by ICE footage that the party of compassion is going to give them free health care. It's possible that they're saying that these people are being wounded in ICE raids and hence need Medicare and Medicaid. But the idea of giving government programs to people who are not citizens does not poll well. It is not popular, and it's of a piece with states like California and New York giving commercial driver's licenses to guys that don't even give their name, and the license says no name given. It's insane. It's not popular. It's
rack your capacious memory for anything dumber than this. I'm serious here. I don't think I can come up with anything dumber than the Schumer shutdown. I'm calling it the Seinfeld shutdown because it's a shutdown about nothing.
Well, no, I mean, it's like the sexual predator probation relocation near school bill. If they did something like that. I mean, it would be on its face so self-evidently mad and crazy and unpopular, but that they would do it for reasons unknowns to the rest of us. So, yeah, I mean, if this was all behind the scenes in secret and nobody knew about it and the rest of it, but they seem to be publicly happy about the fact and digging into it and making it an inspirational cause celeb. I don't get it. This is not the path to electoral success.
So what is your over-under? I consider every day that the government shuts down at 12:01 a.m. tonight, so all the offices close. People have to work if they're an essential employee like TSA. They don't get paid. Every day is an own goal for the Democrats. Every day is a manifest. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen politically. How long will it go on for? What's your over-under?
I haven't the faintest idea. I don't know. What I do know is that we're probably not going to see maybe we will, theatrical closings of things that the government does. Like all of a sudden they have to put up a barrier in front of the Washington Monument and hand out black dark glasses so nobody can see it. I mean, if you remember that sort of government shutdown stuff that they did before, I don't think we'll be seeing that. But again, it's a question of how quickly people feel pain, and the longer it goes on and people don't feel pain, then they wonder exactly, well, wait a minute, somehow I am living, breathing, respiration is working as usual, yet the government is shut down. Maybe it's not truly as essential as I thought it was. And maybe, what are they trying to get again? They're trying to get that. So if there is pain and people feel that it's being done so that somebody who is here illegally from another country and is not a citizen is entitled to the same sort of Medicare and Medicaid that they paid into all of their lives, no. People reminded of that fact will not be particularly happy. Well,
now, in the last shutdown we had, I had friends who were driving across the country, and it was President Obama, not President Biden, shut down Mount Rushmore. Now, you think, how do you shut down Mount Rushmore? Apparently, I've never been to Mount Rushmore. There is one road in and a parking lot that you couldn't turn left on the road, so you couldn't see Mount Rushmore. That truly was COVID-level stupidity. Do you think that the Trump era is going to see any of that stuff?
I don't know. I mean, if they're wise, you can see both ways. If they're wise and they want to make everybody feel the pain, that they would say, yes, shut down Mount Rushmore. You will not be able to go up there. You will not be able to put your quarter in the little binoculars. You will not be able to see Cary Grant hanging out of the nose of Lincoln, or maybe it was Washington, and make people say, and point out exactly why this is happening. But I would like to think that we were beyond that sort of theatrical displays of government cruelty of a vacation sort. I don't know. We will see. I'm just glad that I got Rushmore in. It would be better if they just draped cloths over the face, actually. Made everybody drive up there, pay for parking, and get a $9 hot dog and then wander off. And there's tarps, actually, over all the faces of the people.
Yeah, my friends Len and Judy had planned a cross-country trip during the Obama era shutdown. And they went to the St. Louis Arch, and it was closed. And then went to Mount Rushmore, and it was closed. Yeah. I got to tell you, they're the dumbest things in the world. I don't think Trump will do it. I think Trump will call it the essential employees are the things that Americans like.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you close down the arch again, other than just stand there with weapons drawn and forbid people to gaze upon it. The arch itself, for all we know, was built with some retracting mechanism that makes it draw into the earth when the funding goes down, but I don't think so. Again, put the tarps over the face in Mount Washington and Mount Rushmore, and then play footage constantly of Schumer out there talking about the need to give Medicare and Medicaid to illegals.
A quick exit question. Chuck Schumer, George Mitchell, Mike Mansfield, who's the best, and Tom Daschle, who's the worst of all the Democratic Senate leaders ever?
I don't know, but I'm leaning towards Schumer at this point because he's contradicting things that he used to say. Things that he said on film about illegal aliens and about money and about government programs. So when you know actually that you flip your position 180% and the footage is out there, and yet you go out there and say what he's been saying, that is not the wisest political move. But we will see how he is rewarded or punished for it.
Chuck Schumer, we're waiting for you tomorrow. We cannot wait to see how they vote tonight. James Lilacs, follow him at jameslilacs.substack.com. Man, you get through 29 cuts of audio and video today, but I want to go back to Pete Hegseth, probably the most important thing that was said today, at Quantico with 800 general officers, meaning admirals and generals from all the services, cut number 11.
This administration has done a great deal from day one to remove the social justice, politically correct, and toxic ideological garbage that had infected our department, to rip out the politics. No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses. No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or gender delusions. No more debris. As I've said before, and will say again, we are done with that.
All right, so I think that's an 80-20 line. I think 80% of America stood up and cheered. The lunatic left is going to be upset about the dudes in dresses comment, about the DEI comment, but I think 80% of America wants the Pentagon to be feared and respected more than anything else. They don't care about months. They don't care about special recognitions for people. They want a Defense Department of the George Marshall variety that is lethal and can assemble and destroy on they want the IDF, and I think we've got the IDF. I certainly do remember the march to Baghdad, and it was pretty good at breaking things and getting to Baghdad. And I'm here to tell you, I think that's what America wants, and so good on you, Secretary of War Hegseth. Let me conclude by telling you I'm in the Relief Factor studio. Took it in hour 1, remind you in hours 2 and 3, because Relief Factor is not just a great sponsor, but it's a great product. I've taken it for a dozen years. Now, I get my miles in. I did my 10K this morning, did a 10K yesterday. Tomorrow is an off day, and then do it again on Thursday, and then try and hit double digits on Saturday. That's my routine when I have a chance to do it. And I'm able to do that because of Relief Factor. I carry in curcumin, resveratrol, and omega. So I tell you about it every day, and some of you just don't even listen. You've heard me say this 3 times a day, 5 days a week for 25 years. Well, 12 of 25 years. They weren't a sponsor for the first 13 years. But I do it because there are new listeners every day, and this might be the day that your neck is really killing you, your back is really hurting, your leg, you're stuck in traffic somewhere, and I feel your pain. Try it. 1-800, the number 4 and the word relief. Call them, ask for the starter pack, $19.95. It's less than $1 a day. It's a 3-week supply. You take 3 packets a day for the first week, 2 packets a day for the second week, and then you're on the 1 packet a day for maintenance. That's what I did for years and years and years and years. Try it. 1-800, the number 4 and the word relief, or go to their website at relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Tomorrow I'll be joined by Leland Vittert. He has really got an amazing story. Born Lucky. I had no idea about Leland's backstory. I've known him for a long time. It's a remarkable backstory. Leland will be along, and the government will be shut down, so all you federal employees will have nothing else to do except listen to the Hugh Hewitt Show or watch us on the Salem News Channel.